From Martin Campbell obsessing over his audition to his amazing track record making him the ultimate match for action flicks. Here's why Henry Cavill's 007 performance was tremendous. First things first, let's talk about the absolute firestorm that Cavill's 007 audition has ignited on the internet. It's like a full-blown explosion of excitement and speculation. The online world is buzzing, and fans are going absolutely bananas over the mere thought of Cavill as the next Bond. I'm talking viral hashtags, intense debates, and fan-made trailers that will blow your mind. People from all corners of the internet are expressing their thoughts, hopes, and dreams about Cavill donning that iconic tuxedo. This started when director Martin Campbell mentioned how Cavill was actually in the running to be the suave 007 in a recent interview. And if it weren't for Daniel Craig snagging the role in the 2006 Casino Royale reboot, we probably would have seen Cavill in the black suit. Can you imagine? He could have been slaying it as Bond. Campbell couldn't help but gush over Cavill's audition, saying that his acting was off the charts because he had the looks, that killer physique, and the dude was handsome and chiseled to perfection. The only thing that held him back was that apparently he was a bit too young for the role at the time. And according to Campbell, it's all about the age factor. By the time Daniel got to No Time to Die, he was at an age where one more Bond flick would have been pushing it, you know? It would have been too old for him. And back when they signed Pierce, he had to be on board for 3 films, and that's a solid chunk of your life. I'm guessing Daniel had a similar deal, and the next dude's got to commit to that too. Now, here's where it gets real. Campbell even broke down how much of life Cavill will have to dedicate to the role. Henry's 40, so if he were to do 3 Bond films, he'd be hitting 50 by the time he's done. And anything beyond that, we're talking 2, maybe 3 years per Bond flick. Now, Henry's in wicked shape, and he's a solid dude. But irony hits hard, since he was just too young to be cast not so long ago. And see, here's the thing. Campbell also made it clear that he wasn't playing favorites or anything in the interview, saying that when it comes to choosing Bond, they've got this super elaborate process and it's all democratic. Picture this. You got a table with 8 or 9 people, including Campbell, the producers, and the casting director. They all go through the auditions, talking about each person, and then they vote. It's got to be a unanimous decision, so this wasn't just Campbell favoring Daniel over Henry. Nah, it's all about the whole team being on the same page. But still, it's not like a thorough screening process is good enough to make the people happy, and so when they chose Craig for Casino Royale, not everyone was on board. A while back, Bond casting director Debbie McWilliams said in an interview that she felt sorry for Craig. The press was going wild back then, claiming that he wasn't the right fit for Bond. But now that Craig's Bond era is a wrap with No Time to Die, he's opened up about the deeper meaning behind Bond's fate. He said that the real tragedy is when you have no choice, and that they had to find a way to make his death inevitable. Bond was in the best place he'd ever been because he found love, just like all of us on this earth are searching for. He also said that killing off Bond would create the opportunity for a fresh start, and the franchise's producer Barbara Broccoli felt the same way too. But here's the burning question. Should our boy Cavill, who's 40 years old right now by the way, get back in the mix? Well, the people definitely think it's his time to shine now, so let me fill you in on some comments straight from the fans. They're really hyped about Cavill's Bond potential, and they truly believe that Cavill's got everything it takes. The body? Check. The skills for insane stunts? Check. Plus, he's got that smooth English-speaking vibe down to a T. And did I mention how effortlessly charming he is? This dude's got it all. Henry's hands down the perfect choice for Bond. And on top of that, fans also think that his experience playing Superman's gonna put a unique spin on him taking up the Bond role. Imagine Cavill climbing out of that missile crater in the last Bond film, clothes all tattered, and the Superman suit peeking through the holes. It's a logical explanation, right? Bond's always been this invincible guy, so why not bring in a legit Superman to spice things up? Clark Kent definitely missed his calling. Also, Cavill has sorta ended up in hot water lately, and the fans are fired up and demanding that Hollywood gets their act together. They want Hollywood to stop being dumb and recognize the actor's talent. This dude is the definition of professional, but he's been lowballed by casting processes a lot, so it's high time they make it up to him by casting him as Bond and let him show the world what he's truly capable of. One comment from a fan really stands out, saying that Henry's believable in every single role he takes on. Whether it's Superman, Geralt of Rivia, or even Napoleon Solo, he nails it every single time. People seriously can't wait to see him as Bond. But how good are his odds of getting cast in the role right now? Let's dive deeper into the Bond race and find out. Henry's been a frontrunner in the game for a hot minute. And you know what's interesting? When it comes to Bond speculation, the best place to scope it out is with the bookies. These insiders can give you the predictions on who's gonna rock that 007 tux like no one else. Now, I'm not suggesting you go and place bets, but let's check out the current odds, shall we? Apparently, Cavill is sitting pretty high with some of the best chances of becoming the next James Bond. He used to be numero uno on the bookies charts, but he slipped into second place. Right now, his odds of snagging the role are at 4-1. Not too shabby, right? But guess who's got even better odds? Regé-Jean Page, the heartthrob from Bridgerton. And if you're feeling extra daring, you got Idris Elba and Tom Hardy still in the mix, but their odds ain't as high. These two used to be frontrunners themselves, but something's got the bookies thinking otherwise, and now the moment of truth seems to be shaping up as a showdown between Cavill and Page. No disrespect to the Bridgerton actor, but I got a hunch that Cavill's gonna come out on top, since he was almost the chosen one before. It looks like history might repeat itself, and Cavill could finally secure that Bond role. Also, MGM is supposedly on the hunt for a Bond actor in their 30s, and our boy Cavill is pushing that age limit at 39. Now, I wish I could tell you that MGM could just brush this off, but they probably learned a tough lesson from the Craig era. Let me break it down for you back when Casino Royale dropped. Craig was about the same age as Henry is now, and his 007 journey had its fair share of delays. As the movies went on, the gaps between releases got longer and longer, and Craig was aging in the process. That meant he couldn't pull off the crazy stunts you see in Bond films as easily, and the delays were mostly because of Craig getting injured on set, which is why he kept swearing each time that it would be his last Bond flick. Now, when it comes to Henry, he's at the age Craig was when he first started, but he hasn't landed the role yet. So when his first Bond movie hits screens, he'll be in his 40s, and MGM's worried that they might just be heading towards a similar situation they had with Craig. But to be honest, I do see some differences in these situations, or rather, one big difference. While Craig did some action flicks, they weren't as demanding as the Bond gig turned out to be. Movies ask a lot more from actors these days, but Cavill has been immersed in this high-intensity filmmaking world for pretty much his whole career. I mean, look at his roles like Superman and Geralt. Dude's been all about that physical conditioning and training. So, even as Cavill gets older, I believe he'll be better equipped to handle the intense 007 life, compared to Daniel. And that's also why he's still Hollywood's best bet. Trust me, this guy knows how to bring his all, and I'm down to see him as the next suave and charismatic James Bond. So from his insane track record to Campbell practically losing it over his audition, that was why Henry Cavill's 007 performance was tremendous.